Hi everybody. It's Sunday. It's one of my favorite days, Sunday, because it's a quiet day. We still have customers coming in. So I wanted to take you on a walk through, I call it my laboratory. This is the pyramid garden. Steve, my business partner, built a freestanding pyramid in 2001. Beautiful, beautiful piece of art. And we designed gardens around that in the last 24 years. But being a laboratory, I try things. I put plants in situations to see what their forgiving nature is and how they can relate socially to each other. So we're doing some garden renovation right now. Cedro's here. We're taking out some of the plants that's seeded and dynamically. So I thought I'd take you through a walk and we'll look at what changes we made, how the plants reacted to the plants they were placed with, growth rate and growth habit, and then see what comes up in the conversation spontaneously as I see something. So let's move through here and let's talk about plants. So as we got into the garden about 8 or 9 feet, we have 2 branching paths that go to the left, to the right, and also another one that goes to the right around the freestanding pyramid. So I thought I'd show you some of the dynamics that took place in this particular garden. This is the phlox paniculata. They've seeded in. I have a phlox collection on the other side of the path for small flowered phlox. And they keep reseeding, and I just pick out some of the unique blue colors with small flowers, and I bring those over to Brent at Intrinsic so he can work with that and see what kind of phlox combinations he can come up with. But I kind of leave some of them in, and we have calameris in size of blue star. Some of the blue star reseeds and turns into calameris in size, which is taller. So we leave that in, or I could dig it out. It's just a kind of an artistic decision. So it's more what art forms are we creating within the garden and how are we reducing labor at the same time but increasing editing. Because next year I'll probably take all these phlox out here except the ones you see it mixed with the agastache. I like that height, and it's also mixed with a monarda, fancy fuchsia. So that group there is nice, and it stays fairly upright, and the artistic moment is the way the agastache Blue Fortune, see how it hangs over the path? And you just kind of slowly walk around it without disturbing it. And I have to say, I learned that, I came to know that concept back in 1982 at the Schulenburg Prairie. I was putting a pathway in. Ray Schulenburg asked me and another fella to put this pathway through the prairie. He said, but Roy, we're going to make it 1 cinder block wide, very narrow. And he said, I want everyone who walks through there to be touched by the plants. And I thought, is that cool? To have that interaction, to be touched by the prairie plants, the native plants as they grow. And some people won't walk through there because it's too intimidating to them as the plants grow and they're arching over. So they don't really know what they're missing, that experience of being touched by other living things. Some people would just rather have a golf cart path and drive through on a golf cart, which is okay too, but you're missing the simplest of interactions with other living things. So as we walk through here, this is Calamagrostis brachytricha seedling. It came up within a Geranium Max Fry. You know what, I'm just going to leave it here. It'll bloom, it'll get about that high, bloom in about 2 weeks. And probably next year I might dig it out. And I might dig this whole corner out, and when the phlox are gone, and introduce something else in front of the Calameris incisa. And that's why this is a laboratory where I can keep trying new combinations. So let's walk down to the right here. And this is Sanguisorba. It's a selection of officinalis, and it has a little smaller flowers. And in this area, it's a little looser because we do have a lot of moisture running down and collecting in this area. And we have geranium in here. It's a geranium, I can't remember which one. Does it reseeds freely in here? I'll get back to you on that geranium. And we have it with Succinella inflexus seeding in, which I'm leaving. And across the path, you can see Succinella inflexus here, which I put in. But I put it in a highly competitive situation, so it wouldn't spread. But then you can see when it does seed, you can see the seedlings cross the path. And that happens again because of water going into this one area. And we moved Deschampsia. I put a bigger group of Deschampsia in here because of the moist soil. And then in with this, I have some veronicastrum, which does well in moist soil, but see how it's leaning out of the sun, out of the shade into the sun, which is a nice characteristic too. It's not that every plant has to be vertical, but you don't want them to fall over to the ground. So it has a nice leaning look, leaning over the fence. Same with the Hemericalis, that's autumn minaret, an old one from the 1920s or early 1930s, an introduction. But I like it because it's a late flowering and it's about 5 feet tall when it blooms. So as you look down the path here, we'll come up to the pyramid on the left. You can see I started varying heights, and I started saying why not through Pete Outoff. Pete Outoff was a major inspiration for me about varying heights along the edges as long as the plants had a quality of staying upright. Because usually when I started designing, and usually I'm just referring to me, I'm not usually saying everybody, I would stagger the plants high, shorter, shorter, work down to a low planting at the pathway. But then when you see what Pete does by bringing and lifting the edges higher and having an undulating flow like islands in an ocean, that gets to be pretty exciting. And then what you do when you see that practice, you create your own signature. You create your own islands in your own ocean. And then you select plants that have a vertical habit. And this is the Agastache Blue Fortune through here. And I have it right next to Solidago Wichita Mountain. That's from Bluebird Nursery in Nebraska. It's fairly upright. It does lean a little bit, but it doesn't get in the way. And this will start flowering in about 2 weeks. And the Agastache will go from purple to a green to brown. And in the back, I have Orbicillium pedunculatum. It's a native legume. It has beautiful light little lavender flowers. It had that in mid-June. Very vertical, but it's a very competitive plant. So you can't put Orbicillium in I'll point out with the shovel, it's right here. See the little black seed heads too? Very, very, it's a gentle surprise in the garden. But the surprise will also be if you plant it early, it'll take over the whole garden. So a lot of plants, what I look at is the competitive nature of plants, and competition is one of your most important resources for managing the spreading of certain plants. And that's why, actually I'll bring this up now, we're starting the Cultural Gardener Association, and I'll get into more detail later about how you can join. It's going to be through Yerkes Observatory here in Williams Bay. I'm very excited about it. And it's going to be a plant-driven organization. No opinions, no judgments of plants, no native or non-native. We're looking at plants around the temperate zone, just learning who they are and how they live. And your opinion and judgments you can use and work with on your own terms and how you want to apply that to your gardening practices. We just want to know who they are. And I think by knowing who they are in a deeper way, that means maybe there's some things you don't know about the plants that you can take into your way of being and maybe see how native and non-native plants can be combined in beautiful ways and be beneficial for each other. But you have to know who the plants are in a more dynamic way. And we'll get into how to get in touch with us after the walk. We'll sort that out. Oh, by the way, for this show, I put on a brand new sweatshirt today. I was really proud of myself. I thought, you know what, Roy? You better put on a brand new sweatshirt. And by the end of the day, I'll have hand wipes on and I'll have the thing trashed. It'll be in my old sweatshirt drawer by after laundry on next week. So let's walk along. A really fun plant to incorporate. You see how lax this is? Silphia mori. And it's with Echinacea Northwind. Echinacea Northwind is a selection I made for height. It's very tall, and it has you can see its parent is Tennesseeensis. The petals are flatter and the petals are turned upright. But I really like Northwind because of its height, its later bloom time, its flat petals, and it lives. So this Echinacea has been here probably now about 8 or 9 years. And I just collect seed off it. I started from seed. But it looks really nice with the yellow of the Silphia mori. And the tall in the back is Parviflora. What's the genus? See, when you turn 72, I can tell you who won the batting title in 1961. It was Pete Runnels of the Boston Red Sox. Sanguisorba Parviflora. And Pete Runnels did win the batting title in 1961. I was a big Nellie Fox fan for soccer. I was only 8 years old, and my mom yelled at me. She rarely yelled at me, but she caught me putting number 2 on all my white t-shirts when I was in the bedroom, and she couldn't believe that I was ruining it. My Ma, who's going to see them? Except when I'm out in the alley playing baseball. That was my Nellie Fox number. And then they traded them to the Colt 45s, and I was so depressed as a 9-year-old child. That could be one of the reasons I turned to plants. The trading of Nellie Fox to the Houston Colt 45. Let's move a little farther down. You can see the beauty of the Sanguisorba parviflora. I just have it scattered on each side of the path, and it's very nice the way it arches over. I enjoy the arching, and then we have, this is Rudbeckia speciosa. It really leans over more, and then you see the Succinella inflexus seeding in between it. And as we move down, there's the pyramid. There's Steve's freestanding pyramid. And someone asked me about 12 years ago, I was doing some weeding here, and he goes, I got to ask you a question about that pyramid. I go, yeah, what does it do? And I had no way to answer him. What do you mean, what does it do? Well, what does it do? I go, it's a piece of artwork, an emotional piece of artwork, and it's freestanding, and that's what it does. It's an emotional piece of artwork. He just was puzzled that it didn't do anything. So that's okay. That's okay. So we'll move up. I have some tree peonies I got from Roy Clem. I never really did much with tree peonies, but these have been here probably 9 years, and they're beautiful plants in the garden. And we don't really sell too many tree peonies. In fact, we don't sell any. But they are a good plant to take a look at and introduce to the garden. They're very structured, easy to grow. And you see, we dug out an area here to see the foxtails. We haven't gotten to this yet. This was filled actually with the Succinella inflexus. It took over that whole back area, so we're going to dig all that out. The Cedro's working on the other side. Maybe next Saturday we'll clean all this out, and I'm not sure what we'll put in there yet. Probably a river of something flowing into the gravel garden. As we move into this side of the garden, we have phlox in here that are reseeding. They do that a lot, the Phlox paniculata. And we have, this is Allium, Shorty. This is an Allium Shorty, a selection we made out of Allium Summer Beauty. And it's with Brent's beautiful sedum, Pillow Talk. And this Pillow Talk is done very well in moist soil. So like it's a little too wet for most sedums. So Pillow Talk's been here probably 6 years. And it's done very well. It's an area sloping back to the property that does get wet when we have heavy rain, and we've had a lot of heavy rains. And then we have Nepenthes subsessilis that we do from seed, kind of arching over a very relaxed look. And in the back, Aster umbellatus. I can't quite remember the new genus name, so I'm going to go tell you it's Aster umbellatus. And Molinia sky racer. The taller Molinia, it's a little looser in the back. So it's been a nice garden, and we keep adding some changes. We probably won't do too much with that this year. We're focusing on the other side where Cedra. This was the gravel garden, still is the gravel garden, but it's taken on its own dynamics. It was planted in 2008 when I got back from Germany. I saw Cassian Schmidt's gravel garden. I couldn't believe the success and the beauty of his garden. So everything you see in here isn't anything I put in. The plants I put in gave way to plants that seeded from across the garden. And you know what? I let them see who they're going to be and how it looks. Actually, I like the look. The Eupatorium, the Aster umbellatus. So the Euphorbia plustris seeded in here came from across the path, but I kind of just allowed everything to see how it occurred. This is again part of the laboratory. And there's the Calameris incisa, that's seedlings, the blue, the Eupatorium, the Aster, some Echinaceas. Look at that nice dark purple one over there. And I do nothing in here. The only thing we do is we clean it thoroughly in the fall, and we throw all the leaf fall and stem fall on the other side, and then we mow the other side, and we grind everything up with mulching mowers, and we leave all the leaf and stem fall nicely ground up and distributed through the garden. So we really don't haul anything away or bring anything in anymore. But this has reached a compatible stage of living. So I'm very happy with the compatibility and the way each plant chose to be a neighbor with each plant. So there's really nothing to do here. And we rarely weed because it's so thick. And with the gravel as a base, there's not many weeds that can seed in that can live within that gravel base. But I did notice in almost 2009, 19, and about 18 years it's been here, it's 18 or 19 years, through freezing and thawing, the 5 inches of quartzite gravel now is only 2 inches thick. 3 inches of the quartzite gravel is mixed in with the soil from freezing and thawing. So the 5 inches I started with is now only about 2 inches thick. And that's what occurs in our climate conditions we have here in southeast Wisconsin. So let's walk along a little bit. So back on the other side of the gravel garden, and even the Solidago canadensis, I'm not that disturbed by. We're not going to let it seed. We'll cut that back. But that's in the gravel garden. It mixes nicely with the Eupatorium, the Calamaris incisa. The sedges started here. This is Carex muskingomensis, young ones that have seeded in and come across the pathway all the way over here. But we probably will take that out because I don't want to have to keep thinking about cutting it back, not letting it seed. Because once the seed gets in the air, the breeze will take it in many, many different directions. And that's what it does everywhere. Where you have the Solidago canadensis in large plantings almost everywhere. So we'll probably deal with that later, but we will cut it back. Over here, I put in this is Solanum officinalis. I seeded that in about 11 years ago, and it seeded everywhere. So we have less of it now. We've been hoeing it out in the spring. You can identify it. It looks like a carrot foliage, very fine cut foliage. So in the spring we seed it out, and we took everything out back here. And what we're going to place in here is going to be Solomon seal, Smilacina racemosa, which has another genus. You might look up the new genus for that too. Right now I still notice Smilacina racemosa. So we're going to drift Solomon seal through this area, and then I'm going to put in a few more geranium alerifolium. No, I'm sorry, Campanula alerifolium. It has white arching flowers and flowers off and on most of the summer. So we'll scatter that through here with the Solomon seal through the back. So I'm looking forward to doing that maybe next week. So this is the area we've been working on. I started digging seedlings out. We had a big Eupatorium in here. Dug that out today. It looked good. It was very nice, very showy, but it popped up too quickly, and it was a distraction to seeing what was behind it. So we took that out, and then we took out a lot of phlox that seeded through here. You can see kind of an open area. That open area was all phlox paniculatum, a lot of seedlings, mostly pink. So Isidro dug most of that out today, and we're planting back in there. There's Lithromelatum, so I've added about 8 more or 9 more Lithromelatum for that center area, and drifting Liatris scariosa through there. It's a little taller Liatris, or squarosa, through there. Got about 10 or 12 scattered through there, so the Liatris will come up above the Lithrum, and it has what we have here is a moist soil, but it doesn't stay moist, so the Lithrum does pretty good. The Lithrum has a forgiving nature, it prefers moist soil, but it does well in average soil, but will need irrigation during dry weather. So that's going to fill that area. And here I had Sanguisaur officinalis upright. I called it upright, but as it got shady and too wet here, it flopped over the path. So I dug all that out, and I'm going to support the Sanguisorba that's here. Look at the way it blends with the foliage of the aster. That's just like a Monet moment for me. And I just like that way of blending and finding a way. And that combination, I didn't create that. It just happened, but I'll take full credit for the whole thing. That's basically that's how designers work. Most things happen by accident. So this is a Coloni Tiny Tortuga. This will be about this high and upright. So my hope is the Sanguisorba will lean on top of it a little bit. And then through gardening we might thin it a little, as we'll see how it works, and maybe thin it 3 years from now if it falls on it too much. So over here I had a large Vernonia ironweed that I got from Brent, and I forgot the name he gave. It was about 7 feet tall. I thought, okay, it looked upright at Brent's place. And when I put it in, it stayed upright, but it got shady. You can see the oak tree shaded it too much of the day, so it leaned dramatically halfway to the path. So we dug that out. We're going to relocate it. And in this whole area, but we're going to clean this out, and I'm going to put in Geranium magnificum. It's one of my favorite geraniums when I used to be at the Natural Garden in the 80s. I loved growing it. It was easy for me to divide. The look is beautiful in the spring, late May, June, with the kind of bluish, more blue than purple flowers. And the foliage is nice. It's a nice mound. So I'll put that right in here, and it can take the part shade from the oak tree. So we'll keep the geranium in here. It'll flower right before the stackies, and I think it'll contribute nicely to the peony that's here. In this area, there's the Elytris squarosa, and behind that I got two beautiful plants from Brent. He's got them in his garden at Intrinsic. It's Helianthus salicifolius. It's not about flowering. You can see the foliage is very fine cut. So we dug out some of the eupatorium, which was coming out about 3 more feet, and we put the Helianthus there, salicifolius, and that'll be upright, finely textured in front of the eupatorium. I think that'll look good, and that's a textural change. And in here, it just got overwhelmed by, so there's still some sedges left. Some Carex is seeded in here. I think it was squarosa. And that came away from the pond. It just found this moist area right here. We dug all that out, created this hole. We're putting in Nepeta Neptune. It's a vertical Nepeta. It's a subsessilus. No, it's actually its own species. And I can't remember that right now, but its own species. But it begins with a B, Neptune. And I've been growing it now for 3 years, but I like the upright shape, and it only gets around 2.5 feet tall. So we're going to fill that with Nepeta Neptune. Has a nice blue flower. You can see the calyxes are purple also. So that area will be Neptune. And we're working our way to the end today. Dug out one more area, put in a bigger group of Sanguisorba canadensis in the back, and just drifted Veronica lightsaber through here in between the Sprobolus heterolepis, which has been in here almost 14, 15 years. You can see the prairie drop seed in here. And then we added, 2 years ago, I put in Susha pratensis with the blue flowers, the late blue flowers. They seed freely, but here with the competition, they're not going to take over. So wherever they do seed, almost would be welcomed in this area. Some of them is seeded in, but not much. And then there's another group of Sanguisorba canadensis in the back. And if you come back in 2 years, this all could be different, or 3 years. It's a constant change and learning process of who the plants are and how they relate to each other. It's all about sociability. And I just need to keep learning more because I'm the constant intern. I really know something, but I don't know enough about something to know anything. So when you don't know anything, you just keep learning and having fun. And that's what gardening is. Gardening is joyful. So thanks everybody, and we'll take a walk later on in some other new garden. Thanks.